So welcome again to the second episode of the Haint development diary, and my aim with this is to produce the vertical slice of this particular video game in an open way. I tend to be a mood and story-led game developer. The games I really love playing are those where the story isn't laid out in a linear path for you. I find those kind of games very frustrating. And so in this particular story, you are playing a character who has just been through a horrendous breakup. And at the beginning of the game, you arrive at a rental property where you're moving into. It's not the focus of what I'm talking about here, but I'm using Unity Games Engine. I'm using Cinema 4D. I also use Reaper for audio. And we're going to talk about audio quite a bit today. So when we're dealing with audio in a games engine like Unity, we have a lot of tools at our disposal. We can build the acoustics of different areas in the space. And in this case, this is an empty house. So it needed to be echoey. It needed to be unlived in. One of the things that I did in the first 10 days was I built a footstep system, which means that as you walk around the house, different surfaces give different sounds to your feet. Surprisingly, that makes walking around the space quite engaging all on its own, because you're essentially creating a soundscape that changes as you move through the space. And it's something which you barely notice, but which is really important. And then, of course, we've got various objects which you interact with, and they all have their own sounds, which give a sense of presence in the space and a sense of mood. I'm kind of interested in how buildings have their own kind of ambient sounds, and they differ in different parts of the building. This house has drones which are built into different areas of the space, along with the acoustics and along with the changing footsteps, the different types of light switch sounds. You already have a sort of shifting dynamic of soundscape, which as you move around changes. So you can see I'm starting to build various objects which can be interacted with, which have sounds attached to them, but also have different particle effects like steam and so on that rises off the pan of baked beans as you're cooking them. And this is all to give a sense of presence, to give a sense, or sort of reassuring sense that you are actually here and you're affecting the world. And to make the being in the space kind of rewarding in its own way before we begin to throw in some surprises. Another thing that I'm doing with this game, which is sort of in the style of the things I've done in the past, is this game is not just a video game, it's also an album. So when you go up to the record player, there are 8 7-inch singles that are in a rack. Ultimately, that will be 8 tracks of an album, and those tracks each sort of tell different elements of the story as well. I've begun the very large job of bringing the world to life through interactions. You can still see that this is largely a bare apartment. There should be more things lying around. There should be more things that you can do so that you can explore and just enjoy being there. But I've done a lot of work on the sound and the feeling of presence that sound gives you when you're in this space, that helps you to feel like staying longer here and exploring more.